All right. So, there have been people that have wanted to debate for a long time on the whole aspect of the perception of time being money. All right. And there are a lot of people that have disagreed with me on this. But let me go ahead and clarify this, all right? Ultimately, if it wasn't true, then the government wouldn't require employers that utilize your time to go ahead and compensate you for the time being used. All right. Ultimately, with that time that you're giving, all right, in exchange, that time gets utilized, all right, with a schedule. That schedule is a promissory of, okay, I'm going to need to utilize your time and your capabilities from said specific point in time, starting point, to said specific time, ending point. All right. Now, throughout that block of time, that is your employer saying, I need your time. All right. And with that time, I am going to go ahead and use your time to go ahead and get some form of labor. All right. Now, that form of labor, it comes in different forms. It could be physical labor, it could be mental labor, it could be the utilization of a skill. All right. There really is no such thing as a meaningless job. It's about how much it actually ends up going ahead and meaning to the individual itself. All right. Like, for example, all right, there are a lot of people that think that conflict resolution is not a actual job. That ultimately, people that go ahead and try to get in career paths of conflict resolution do not deserve to be adequately compensated. All right? But now understand this. If you don't believe that time is money, when you have a conflict resolution circumstance, all right? Like, for example, you are wanting to resolve a conflict of sharing time of an offspring created by two individuals and want to go ahead and get assistance in helping to determine the way that the time of that younger individual, that by the letter of the law is not allowed to go ahead and really determine what they're capable of utilizing that time with, despite the factor of personal autonomy. All right. So, like, for example, recreational activities. Will they go ahead and play sports? Will they be allowed to go ahead and play video games? Will they be allowed to socialize with friends? All right. Ultimately, what video games will they be allowed to play? Different different factors that go ahead and get argued about. Now, you're required legally, if you go ahead and utilize somebody's time and say, no, this time that I am expecting this labor or this skill, the government says that I need to compensate you. All right. So now, with that skill, ultimately, it's the employer's job to then go ahead and find a benefactor that ultimately can go ahead and profit with the resources needed to keep said gainful employment going, to go ahead and offer their resources for said skill, said product, or said, like I said, knowledge. All right? Because obviously, with knowledge, you have teaching, you know? So, that being said, If time was not money, employers would not be forced to keep timesheets to go ahead and manage and keep track of exactly how much of your time that they ended up going ahead and getting. Now, keep in mind, if your employer decides to go ahead and absolutely just waste your skills and capability by going ahead and having you put to just tasks that are just way underutilizing your capabilities, that's a faux pas on your employer. Alright, that's a mistake on your employer. But ultimately, if your time was not money, your employer would not be expected to financially compensate you for the reservation of your time, which a timesheet or schedule is an agreement, basically, of I am agreeing that I want this time specifically from you to go ahead and utilize this specific task or this specific set of skills or this specific knowledge. And in exchange, I have to give you resources. If I get more resources from being the benefactor, to go ahead and find the benefactors with the resources that need said skill or trade or craft or knowledge, ultimately, those profits are used to go ahead and keep your gainful employment going. So now do you understand how time is money? And now do you understand how wasting somebody's time? Yes, that is a very bad thing. But regardless, literally, the law says you have to compensate your employees. All right? So if a boss goes and wastes your time by not utilizing you for tasks that are very much so within your capabilities, that may even be your strengths, and instead decide to be spiteful by going ahead and appointing you just redundant tasks that do not fall into your job description, they are still legally required to pay you. If they do not, law enforcement and the government has a method through legal channels and the bureaucratic system to go ahead and force said employer to compensate you properly. Do you understand how that works now?